I never thought I'd say this out loud, but the camera I installed in my house didn't prove I was right. It proved the exact opposite. My name is Karin. I'm 38. I'm mom to Luke, who's 8, and I'm married to David. And if you had asked anyone who knew me, even a little, until not long ago, you'd hear pretty much the same sentence. Karin is strict. Karin is that mom who doesn't let anything slide. Karin is the one who holds the house together. I was proud of that. I honestly thought being a good mom meant exactly that, not letting anything slip. Always being alert, in control, correcting things right away. The problem is, when you spend your whole life trying to control everything, sometimes you lose the only thing that really matters, the ability to see yourself. It took me way too long to realize that. In my head, the story started like this. Me, a responsible mom, noticing that my son was getting spoiled, mouthy, disrespectful, and that his dad was the one to blame. David was always the nice guy. The one who says yes to another slice of cake, who lets him play video games for 5 more minutes, who sometimes pushes bedtime because they're having a pillow fight in the living room. Meanwhile, I was the one who said no, who hid the remote, who made him brush his teeth, put his toys away, do his homework. But over time, that difference turned into a huge gap, at least in my head. I started to feel like everything was on me. If Luke got a bad grade, it was my fault, because I didn't push him more. If he had a meltdown, it was because I wasn't tough enough. And at the same time, when I looked at David, I could only see one thing: weakness. In my version of the story, David had turned into a soft dad. And that soft dad thing, in my mind, was going to turn our son into an irresponsible, entitled, ungrateful adult. I repeated that to myself like a mantra. That's why I came up with the idea of the camera. At least, that's the story I told myself in the beginning. Officially, I told David it was for security. We live in a house, not an apartment, and I made up that I'd been seeing stories about break-ins, robberies, that kind of thing. Honey, I'd like to put a camera in the living room and another one in the garage, just so we can check things on our phones if we're out of town. You know, for safety. He agreed right away. David rarely pushes back on me, but the truth is, deep down, I wanted something else. I wanted proof. I wanted, recorded and saved, scenes of Luke being disrespectful, talking back, throwing stuff on the floor. I wanted David brushing it off, laughing, not correcting him. I wanted to be able to hit play and say, "See? Look at that. Am I crazy? Am I overreacting?" That's what I wanted. They installed the camera on a Monday, very discreet, on top of the TV stand, almost against the wall. You could see the whole living room, couch, coffee table, part of the dining table in the back. I looked at that little device, quiet, a tiny blue light blinking, and I had this strange feeling of power. I had an invisible eye inside my own house. The first day, I barely had time to watch anything. Work, traffic, meetings. When I got home, Luke had already had dinner, and David was watching TV with him. I took a shower, did a few things around the house, and crashed. But I knew. Everything was recorded. And that started to give me this weird anxiety. On Tuesday, I woke up already thinking about the camera. I left. Early, David was working from home that day, and Luke had school until noon. The plan was that they'd have lunch at home, just the two of them. Late morning, while I was pretending to pay attention in a meeting, I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app. Split screen, live image of the living room. Empty couch, clock on the wall, silence. I stared for a few seconds, feeling kind of ridiculous, then closed it. At 2 p.m, I couldn't resist. I opened it again. This time, I pulled up the earlier recording. I wanted to see lunch. I wanted to see how David handled Luke without me there. That's when the first punch landed. The camera showed Luke sitting at the table, spinning his fork on the plate, making circles in his rice. David, in the kitchen, only appeared from the side, putting the plates together. "Luke, go wash your hands again, buddy. You were just messing with the remote," he said calmly, without raising his voice. "Aw, Dad," Luke complained. "Come on, it's quick, then we'll eat together." I watched Luke get up reluctantly, dragging his feet, walking down the hall, then coming back, sitting down again. I was expecting a full-blown tantrum, you don't tell me what to do, a plate flying. And what was actually there was a normal 8-year-old kid who didn't feel like getting up from the chair, and a patient dad, repeating the same sentence 2-3 times without losing it. I caught myself trying to find flaws where there weren't any. Oh, look, how he let the kid say, "Aw, Dad," like that. I wouldn't allow it. I closed the recording, annoyed. I spent the rest of the afternoon with that replaying in my head. While part of me knew there was nothing wrong there, another part refused to accept it. It was like I was so used to seeing David as the problem that anything that didn't fit that narrative bothered me. On Wednesday night, things changed. It was math homework night. I remember because when I got home, the mood was already tense. "Luke, did you do your homework?" was the first thing I asked, still in the doorway. "I'm doing it," he said without taking his eyes off the TV. "I'm doing it, or I didn't do it," I shot back. David, sitting next to him on the couch, grabbed the remote and paused the cartoon. "We were just taking a little break, honey. He started but got stuck on a problem. I told him to relax for a bit and then go back to it." "Of course," I snapped. "If it were up to you two, everything would turn into a party. Next thing I know, you'll be putting on music to dance while he does homework." I knew right away I'd gone too far, but I ignored that feeling. Luke lowered his eyes a little. David stayed quiet. I sent Luke to the table, sat beside him, opened his notebook. He really was stuck on a simple multiplication problem. "This is 3rd grade material, Luke. You're in 4th grade now. How do you not know this?" I said, in a louder tone than I'd like to admit. He started crying. I rolled my eyes. "Oh, great. Here comes the drama." David tried to step in. "Karin, relax. He's tired. He had PE today. He came home wiped out. I messed up a couple things in my head, too. It happens. It happens." That phrase lit a fuse in me. No, it doesn't just happen, David. What's supposed to happen is effort, paying attention in class, being responsible. But of course for you, it's all good, right? With you, anything goes. Video games are fine, TV is fine, homework can wait. I got up from the table, hit my hand on it, and went to the kitchen. The air went cold, but in that moment, I still thought I was right. It was only the next day that the camera started throwing everything back in my face. Thursday morning, David texted me. "Hey, have you watched last night's recordings?" My heart skipped a beat. I replied, "Not yet. Why?" "When you can, take a look. We'll talk later." That message really got under my skin. In my head, he was trying to flip the script, use the camera against me. And I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction so easily. I waited until I got to work, made my coffee, put on my headphones, sat at my desk. I opened the app and pulled up the recording from homework time. Hit play. It's a weird feeling, watching yourself on a screen, no filter, no editing, without the excuse of you misunderstood. The camera didn't misunderstand anything. It just recorded. I saw the Karin I thought I knew, and another one I didn't know so well. I watched myself walk into the living room, asking about homework, already in full demand mode. I saw Luke's "I'm doing it," a bit distracted, totally normal for a kid his age. I saw David calmly explaining the idea of taking a break. And I saw, in detail, the moment I cut both of them off. On video, my voice sounded higher, harsher than I remembered. Of course, if it were up to you two, everything would turn into a party. I paused the video there, on instinct. There was something in my expression I wasn't ready to face. Arms crossed, eyebrows tight, mouth in a little sarcastic half-smile. That face of, "I know better, you two are the problem." I hit play again. I watched Luke walking to the table, dragging his feet. I watched myself flipping through the notebook impatiently, as if every messy line was a personal insult. And then came the part that really hurt. "This is 3rd grade material, Luke. You're in fourth now. How do you not know this? In the video, you can see the exact second his eyes fill with tears. He bites his lip, trying to hold it in. I roll my eyes. I even noticed my little sarcastic laugh, the one I don't even realize I make. Oh, great. Here comes the drama. I didn't remember saying, "Here comes the drama." In my version of the story, I was just worried about school. The rest, my mind had erased, but the camera hadn't. Then you see David trying to calm things down. Karin, hey, relax. And you see something I had never noticed. Luke glancing over at his dad, real quick, like he's looking for help, like he's hoping David will step between him and me. I skipped ahead a little. I wanted to see how it ended. After I left the table, the video shows David gently pulling the notebook toward him. Hey, buddy, he says softly. Your mom went a little hard on you. I'm sorry, okay? She just gets nervous because she wants you to do well. Luke wipes his face with his sleeve, not looking at him. She thinks I'm stupid, he says. My stomach turned to stone. No, she doesn't, David answers right away. She just doesn't know how to say it any other way when she's worried. But you're not stupid. Come here, let's do this problem together. Then I'll talk to her. I squeezed my phone so hard my hand hurt. Part of me wanted to drop it, walk away and pretend I hadn't seen anything. But another part needed to watch it to the end. Luke takes a deep breath, tries the problem again. He gets it wrong. He shrinks into himself, like he's bracing for me to come back any second and tear into him again. But I don't come back. I'm in the kitchen, probably chewing my anger along with a piece of bread. The soft dad is the one there, patiently explaining what multiplication is, how to do it, why it's okay to make mistakes when you're learning. And the kid who, to me, was disrespectful in that recording just looked scared. I closed the app. I closed my eyes too, and for a few seconds I just sat there in my office chair, feeling a kind of shame I didn't even know how to name. It wasn't shame over losing my temper once in a stressful moment. Everybody does that. It was shame over something deeper, realizing that this wasn't some one-off incident. It was a pattern. It wasn't, yesterday I yelled too much. It was, how many times have I done this exact same thing and called it parenting? That night, I got home earlier than usual. My heart felt out of rhythm. Luke was on the living room floor, playing with cars. David was on the couch with his laptop. Hey, I said, from the doorway. Luke automatically looked over at his dad first, real quick, like he was trying to read the room by his father's face before reacting to me. He pulled his shoulders in a bit, like someone getting ready for a scolding. I'd never seen that from the outside, but that day, I couldn't unsee it anymore. Hey, David answered, closing the laptop. How was your day? It was eye-opening, I said. I knelt down next to Luke, who still seemed kind of on edge. Luke, I started, my voice cracking a little. Can I play with you for a bit? He looked at me, suspicious, like he was waiting for the catch. Little by little, he relaxed. That scene probably lasted 15 minutes, maybe less. But for me, it felt like holding a grenade with the pin pulled. I knew that sooner or later I'd have to talk to David, and I was terrified, not of him, but of myself. When Luke went upstairs to take a bath, I sat on the edge of the couch. You texted me this morning to watch last night's recording, I said, straight out. David looked at me carefully. You watched it? I did. Silence. And? I took a deep breath. The words were stuck in my throat. And it wasn't what I expected. He stayed quiet, giving me space. Honestly, part of me almost wished he'd just throw it in my face and say, see? But David isn't like that. I always thought the problem was you being too soft with him, I went on. That I was the only one who had the guts to be tough. That if I left it to you, you'd ruin our kid with too much affection. I could hear how absurd that sounded as I said it. And seeing it from the outside, I saw that the one going too far was me. I wasn't talking to him like a worried mom. I was talking to him like he was my enemy, like he owed me something, like his mistake was a personal insult. I waited for a defensive answer. That's not quite true. You're being too hard on yourself. But he just nodded slightly. I tried to tell you that a few times, he said, gently. But every time I brought it up, it felt like I was calling you a bad mom. And I know that's not true. I know you love him more than anything. It's just, sometimes the way you talk to him hurts more than it helps. I started crying right there. I cried because it hurt to hear. I cried because he was right. I cried because the camera had shown it more clearly than any argument ever could. That day, for the first time, I wished the camera didn't exist, because with it, I had nowhere, left to hide from the truth. The days that followed were a constant exercise in unlearning. At first, I just watched the recordings without judging or defending myself. I saw Luke doing kid things, spilling juice, forgetting to put his shoes away, talking back when he was tired. And I saw my reactions, on repeat. It was like standing in front of a mirror that doesn't lie. I saw myself cutting David off every time he tried to stand up for our son. I saw myself dismissing Luke's tears, calling it drama, whining. I saw myself using lines I swore I'd never repeat, because I'd heard them from my own mom. If you don't learn now, life is going to teach you the hard way. You only listen when I yell. Do you want me to be your friend or your mom? Because I can't be both. I realized I wasn't raising my son. I was dumping my frustrations on him, my fear of failing, my anger about growing up in a place where no one gave me room to make mistakes. In that house, Luke wasn't the difficult child. He was just the child getting hit the hardest by my twisted way of loving. The camera stayed there, quiet, recording our days. But its role changed. It stopped being the evidence I wanted to pile up against David and became a tool I slowly started using against the person I most needed to confront, myself. I don't have a perfect ending to give you. I didn't suddenly turn into some Zen mom overnight. I still lose my patience, still raise my voice sometimes, still say things I regret later. But now, when that happens, I can't hide behind "that's just how I am" anymore. I know, because I've seen it, that the way I was acting hurt. And if I know that, I can choose to do it differently. The other day, Luke spilled a glass of juice in the living room, all over the light-colored rug. The perfect setup for the old Karin to blow up. I felt the anger rise. I felt the sentence forming right on the tip of my tongue. You never pay attention to anything, do you? But before I said it, an image flashed in my mind. Me on the screen of my phone, rolling my eyes at his crying and saying, "Here comes the drama." I took a breath. I looked at him. I saw his fear before I saw the rug. "It's okay," I said, still a little shaky. "Just grab a towel from the kitchen and we'll clean it up together, okay?" He looked at me, surprised, like he didn't quite trust this version of his mom. "You're not gonna yell?" he asked. "Not over a glass of juice," I said. "Everybody spills. Something once in a while. Even grown-ups." David, on the couch, gave me a sideways look, a mix of pride and relief. I didn't need a camera at that moment. I already knew that scene was recorded where it matters most, inside me. Today, when I look at that little black dot in the corner of the living room, I feel shame and gratitude at the same time. Shame for what it showed me. Gratitude that it showed me in time. If the old Karin were the one telling you this story, she'd probably end it by saying, "See, thanks to the camera, I proved I was right and that David was ruining our son." But that's not what happened. The only person the camera really exposed was me. So I'll leave you with a question, since you stayed with me until the end. If someone put a camera in the room where you lose your patience the most with the people you love, are you sure you'd come out of that video as the hero of the story? Or would you, like me, find out that the person who most needs to change isn't them? It's you.